The billionaire's newborn son was blind, but the new maid revealed a shocking secret. Michael Thompson had everything money could buy, except the certainty that his son was well. The private doctors were unanimous in the diagnosis that was destroying him inside. His 3-month-old baby had been born blind. That Thursday afternoon, he was discussing on the phone the possibility of bringing in another specialist from New York while pacing back and forth in the living room. The voice on the phone spoke about new techniques, experimental treatments, anything that could restore little Ethan's sight. But deep in his soul, Michael had already begun to accept that it would be impossible. "I understand, Doctor. Yes, you can schedule it for next week." He hung up the phone and let his body fall onto the Italian leather sofa. That's when he noticed her presence. The new domestic worker was there, near the playpen where Ethan was resting. She had been hired just 2 weeks ago, after the previous employee quit, claiming she couldn't stand working in a house with so much suffering. "Do you need anything, sir?" the woman asked, her accent revealing her origins from rural West Virginia. "No, Meredith, you can continue with your work." But Meredith didn't move. She was looking at the baby with an expression that Michael couldn't decipher. There was something in her brown eyes, a mix of concern and certainty that bothered him. "Excuse me, Mr. Michael," she said, her voice low but firm. "May I ask a question about Ethan?" Michael felt his chest tighten. He didn't like when people asked questions about his son's condition. The words always came loaded with pity, and he hated pity. "What do you want to know? Are the doctors sure that he can't see?" The question caught him off guard. It wasn't the tone of compassion he expected. It was something different, almost a challenge. "Meredith, 3 specialists confirmed it. My son was born with a rare condition that affected the development of his optic nerves. It's incurable." "It's just that I noticed something strange, sir," she continued, ignoring the finality in his voice. "Yesterday, when I was cleaning the bookshelf, Ethan was in the playpen. I accidentally dropped one of the books, and he turned his head exactly toward the noise. It wasn't just turning, sir. He looked at me. I swear he looked me in the eyes." Michael felt anger rising. Another person trying to give false hope, as if he hadn't been through enough of that already. "Babies respond to sound stimuli, Meredith. That doesn't mean he can see." "I know that, sir. But it wasn't just that. This morning, I had a yellow cleaning cloth in my hand. I moved it from side to side, very slowly, and Ethan's little eyes followed the movement. It wasn't a coincidence. He followed the cloth 3 times in a row. "Enough." Michael stood up from the sofa, his voice louder than he intended. "I don't want to hear any more of this. You were hired to clean and take care of the house, not to give medical opinions. My son has been examined by the best professionals in the country." Meredith lowered her head, but Michael noticed that she didn't seem sorry. She seemed frustrated, as if she wanted to shout something that he refused to hear. "I'm sorry, Mr. Michael. I didn't mean to offend." She left the room quietly, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts and with Ethan. The businessman approached the playpen and looked at his son. The baby had fine blonde hair and fair skin inherited from his mother. His eyes, when open, were a deep blue that seemed to see into anyone's soul. But they didn't see, the doctors were sure. Michael picked up his son and felt the familiar weight of the small body. Ethan made a little noise and moved his tiny arms. He was so perfect in everything, except in what mattered most. "Daddy will take care of you," he whispered. "No matter what happens. Oh. You'll have everything you need, I promise." The living room door opened again and Michael turned, expecting to see Meredith. But it was Jennifer, his wife. She wore an expensive athletic outfit and had her gym bag slung over her shoulder. "Are you still here?" she asked without approaching. "I thought you were going to the office today." "I was handling some things by phone. Another doctor to examine Ethan." Jennifer sighed. That tired sigh Michael knew well. "Michael, you need to accept the situation. There's no use looking for miracles. He's our son, Jennifer. How can you just give up?" "I haven't given up," she replied, but her voice was cold, distant. "I've just accepted reality, and you should do the same. Torturing yourself like this won't change anything." "You barely spend time with him." Michael felt the bitterness in his own words. Ever since the doctors confirmed the diagnosis, You've practically run away from home. That's not true and you know it. And you... I work, I have my responsibilities. I can't stay here all day wallowing like you do. Your responsibilities? You spend more time at the gym and having lunch with your friends than with your own son. Jennifer pressed her lips together. For a moment, Michael thought she would explode, shout back, but she just adjusted her bag on her shoulder and turned to leave. I'm having lunch out. Don't wait for me for dinner either. I have an appointment. And she left, leaving a heavy silence in the room. Michael looked again at Ethan and felt his heart break. This wasn't how he had imagined his family. When Jennifer got pregnant, he dreamed of a home full of love, laughter, happy moments. But since Ethan's birth, everything had fallen apart. The doctors said there was no clear explanation for the blindness. It wasn't genetic. It wasn't caused by anything during the pregnancy. It just happened. And Michael couldn't stop blaming himself. Maybe it was the stress from business, he worked too much during Jennifer's pregnancy, traveled constantly, closed deals worth millions. Maybe all that stress had affected the baby somehow, or maybe it was just bad luck. Fate being cruel to someone who had everything in life. He put Ethan back in the playpen and picked up his phone. There were dozens of unread messages, urgent emails, meetings to schedule. But none of that mattered. His tech company was worth hundreds of millions, had offices in 5 states, employed over 1,000 people, and none of that could buy what he wanted most, his son's health. Mr. Michael? Meredith was at the door again. She carried a tray with coffee and some cookies. I thought you might be hungry. I didn't see you have lunch. Thank you, Meredith. He accepted the tray and placed it on the coffee table. And I'm sorry for being rude earlier. I know you were only trying to help. No need to apologize, sir. I understand. If it were my child, I'd be defensive too. She began picking up some toys scattered on the floor, but Michael noticed her eyes kept returning to Ethan. There was something in how she looked at the baby that intrigued him. Do you have children, Meredith? I have 2, sir. They're grown now. The oldest is 23, the youngest 20. And do you live far from them? I do. They stayed in Clarksburg with my sister. I came to Atlanta because the work pays better here. I send money every month to help with their studies. Michael felt a pang of shame. Here was a woman who had left her children to work in a stranger's home, all to give them a better life. And he, who had all the money in the world, couldn't give his son the one thing that truly mattered. They must be proud of you, he said. I hope so, sir. Meredith smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. Even though I'm far away, I always call to check on them. Technology helps a lot. I do video calls almost every day. She finished tidying the toys and left the room. Michael kept watching Ethan, who was starting to get restless. It was almost time for his bottle. He stood up to get it, but stopped when he heard a noise from the kitchen. It was raised voices, Meredith and someone else. Curious, Michael walked to the kitchen and found Meredith arguing with Margaret, the housekeeper who had worked in the house for 5 years. Margaret was a woman in her early 50s with greying hair always tied in a tight bun. She had an authoritative manner, and Michael knew that Jennifer trusted her completely. You have no right to question what the doctors said, Margaret was saying, her finger pointed at Meredith. Who do you think you are? A new employee trying to stick her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm just saying what I saw, Meredith replied, staying calm. Ethan responds to visual stimuli. I'm sure of it. Sure, are you a doctor now? Did you study for years at some university I don't know about? I don't need to be a doctor to use my eyes, Margaret. Anyone can see if they look carefully. What's going on here? Michael entered the kitchen. The 2 women turned, surprised. Margaret quickly composed a respectful expression. Nothing, Mr. Michael. I was just explaining to Meredith that she needs to focus on her work and stop making up stories. Stories? Meredith turned to Michael. Sir, I'm not making anything up. I grew up watching my brother go through the same thing Ethan is going through, and in the end, we found out the doctors were wrong. Your brother? Michael felt something stir inside him. Curiosity, hope, fear. Yes, sir. When he was born, they said he was blind. My mother took him to several doctors, and they all confirmed it. But she wouldn't accept it. She swore he could see. And you know what happened? When my brother was 1.5 years, they discovered he had a different condition. His brain processed visual information in a strange way, so it seemed like he couldn't see. But he could, sir, he could see perfectly. Michael felt his heart race. And how did they find out? My mother insisted so much that she got him examined at a public hospital by doctors who hadn't been consulted before. They did different tests and found out the truth. Mr. Michael, don't let this woman give you false hope, Margaret interrupted. Ethan was examined by the best. 3 specialists confirmed it. My private doctors confirmed it too, Meredith said, and they were all wrong. Do you know why? Because my mother only had money for one type of test, the most basic one, and those tests didn't detect the real problem. This is different, Margaret insisted. Mr. Michael paid for the best doctors, the most comprehensive tests. But they were all referred by the same clinic, weren't they? Meredith looked directly at Michael. The same clinic that Mrs. Jennifer chose? Michael froze. It was true, Jennifer had insisted on using her clinic, an exclusive place frequented by the elite of Atlanta. All the specialists who examined Ethan came from there. Meredith, finish preparing lunch and don't meddle in matters that don't concern you, Margaret said, ending the conversation. Michael returned to the living room, but his mind was racing. Could it be possible that there was some mistake? No, the doctors were the best. They did all the tests. And yet Meredith's story bothered him. He picked up his phone and called his lawyer. David, I need you to do some discreet research for me. I want to know everything about the Life and Wellness Clinic, who the owners are, how it operates, diagnostic history, everything. And I want it today. Did something happen, Michael? Just do what I asked. It's urgent. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The days that followed were strange. Michael began observing Ethan more closely, looking for signs he had previously ignored, and the more he watched, the more doubts arose in his mind. One Saturday morning, he was alone with his son in the living room. Jennifer had traveled to New York for a work event. Margaret was on her day off. Only Meredith was working, doing the weekly deep cleaning. Michael held a bright red rattle. He moved it slowly from side to side, watching Ethan's eyes. At first, nothing. But then, for a split second, it seemed the baby's eyes followed the movement. Did you see that? He asked Meredith, who was passing by. I did, sir. That's what I've been trying to say. He reacts. But it could be a coincidence, or an involuntary reflex. It could be, Meredith agreed. But don't you think it's worth investigating? Michael fell silent. Of course it was, but he was also afraid. Afraid to build up hope only to see it destroyed again. Afraid to go through that whole process of tests, doctors, diagnoses, only to hear the same thing. Your brother, he asked, how is he now? He's an engineering graduate, sir, working for a good company in New York. Married, with a daughter. He never had vision problems. It was just that condition as a baby, which was mistaken for blindness. And does he have any lasting effects? None, sir. Today he's a completely normal person. Normal. The word echoed in Michael's mind. His son could be normal. He could grow up, go to school, play, read, see the world, if that woman was right. Meredith, can you help me with a test? Very simple. Of course, sir. Michael picked up 3 objects, a blue teddy bear, a red toy car, and a green book. He positioned himself in front of Ethan, and one by one moved the objects in front of the baby. With the blue teddy bear, nothing. Ethan's eyes remained still. With the red toy car, the same. No apparent reaction. But when Michael moved the green book, something happened. Ethan's eyes definitely followed the object. It wasn't a vague or imprecise movement. It was a clear and direct tracking. My God, Michael whispered. Did you see that? Meredith came closer. I saw. But why only with the green? Why not with the others? Maybe he has a preference for certain colors. Or maybe green is easier for him to process. I don't know, sir. But I saw what you saw. Michael sat on the floor, his legs weak. Could it be possible? Could it be that all these months he had believed in a wrong diagnosis? The phone rang. It was David, his lawyer. "Michael, I got the information you asked for about the clinic." "And?" "Nothing too suspicious. It's a well-established clinic, good reputation. But there's an interesting detail. One of the main partners is Dr. Gregory Sullivan." "So?" "Gregory Sullivan is the brother-in-law of Kenneth Wheeler, and Kenneth Wheeler is your wife's divorce lawyer." Michael felt his blood run cold. "What did you say?" "Jennifer hired Kenneth Wheeler 3 months ago, Michael. He's a specialist in high-asset divorces, and apparently he has connections to the clinic that diagnosed your son." "How do you know she hired a divorce lawyer?" "I have my contacts, and when you asked me to investigate the clinic, I thought it best to investigate everything. I'm sorry if I overstepped, but I thought you needed to know." Michael Thompson hung up the phone with trembling hands. Jennifer was planning a divorce, and somehow it was connected to Ethan's diagnosis. But how? Why? He ran his hand through his hair, trying to think clearly. A child with a disability could be an advantage in a divorce case. It would guarantee higher alimony, more custody rights, perhaps even a more favorable division of assets. But no. Jennifer wouldn't be capable of that. She wouldn't be capable of using her own son's health as a bargaining chip. Would she? "Mr. Michael, are you okay?" Meredith asked, concerned. "I need to think." He stood up. "Meredith, can you stay with Ethan for a few hours? I need to go out." "Of course, sir. You can count on me to take good care of him." Michael grabbed the car keys and left the house. He drove aimlessly for a few minutes, just processing that bombshell of information. Jennifer planned to divorce him, and the doctors who diagnosed Ethan had ties to her lawyer. Could it all be a setup? Could the doctors have lied about their son's condition? No, that would be crazy. Doctors wouldn't risk their careers for something like that. Unless it wasn't a deliberate lie. Maybe they were just hasty, superficial diagnoses, confirmed by each other without proper investigation. He stopped the car in front of a park and watched the children playing. Normal children, running, laughing, seeing the world. Ethan could be one of them. He could have a normal life. His phone rang again. Jennifer. "Michael, where are you?" "I went out for a drive." I needed to think. "Margaret called me. She said you're doing crazy tests with Ethan, encouraged by the new maid. And you're worried because I don't want you to get false hopes. We've talked about this. You need to accept his condition. Or you need me to accept it." Silence on the other end of the line. "What do you mean by that?" "Nothing, Jennifer, forget it." "Michael, you're being strange. When I get home, we need to talk." "We sure do, about many things." He hung up before she could answer. He looked again at the children in the park and made a decision. He would seek a second opinion, a real opinion, from doctors who had no connection to Jennifer or her private clinic. When he returned home, he found a scene that surprised him. Meredith was on the living room floor playing with Ethan. She had spread several colorful toys around and was picking them up one by one, showing them to the baby. "Look at the yellow ducky, Ethan. Oh, where's the ducky?" She moved the toy and smiled when she saw the baby's reaction. Michael watched from the doorway. Meredith didn't know he was there. She was completely focused on Ethan with a genuine affection he hadn't seen in Jennifer for months. "That's right, you're looking. You can see the ducky, can't you?" Ethan let out a little joyful squeal and waved his tiny arms. Meredith laughed and picked the baby up, hugging him tenderly. "You're a smart one, you know. Very smart. No matter what the adults say, I know you can see." Michael felt his eyes well up. When was the last time someone hugged his son like that? When was the last time he himself held Ethan with so much love, without the shadow of sadness and guilt? "Meredith," he called out. She turned, startled, almost dropping Ethan. "Mr. Michael, I didn't see you arrive. I'm sorry. I was just playing with him while preparing dinner. I wasn't neglecting my work, I swear." "Don't apologize. You're very good with him." "He's a sweetheart, sir. Impossible not to like." Michael approached and held out his arms. Meredith handed Ethan to him. The baby looked at his father, and for the first time in a long while, Michael was absolutely certain his son was seeing. "I'm taking him to another doctor," he announced. "One who has no connection to my wife's clinic. Will you help me look?" "Of course, sir. My mother took my brother to Memorial General Hospital back then. They were public healthcare doctors, but very competent. Maybe you could start there. I'll schedule an appointment for this week, and Meredith, thank you. Thank you for not giving up on opening my eyes." She smiled, her eyes also misty. "I just want to see this boy happy, sir. That's all." That evening, when Jennifer arrived, Michael was waiting in the living room. She came in with several shopping bags, excited, talking about the event in New York. "It was incredible, Michael. We made important contacts. There might be new projects coming up. And look what I bought." She started pulling clothes from the bags. "This store had some wonderful pieces." "We need to talk," Michael interrupted. Her smile vanished. "About what?" "About Ethan. About us. About this marriage." Jennifer dropped the bags and crossed her arms. "All right, let's talk then. You hired a divorce lawyer. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. And by the expression on Jennifer's face, he knew it was true. Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter. Is it true?" Jennifer sighed and sat in the armchair. "Yes, I did. A few months ago." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew how you'd react. I knew you'd try to convince me to stay, that you'd make promises, that you'd change for a few weeks, and then go back to being the same." "The same how?" "Obsessed with work. Distant. Cold. Michael, you only changed after Ethan was born. And you only changed because guilt consumes you. But it's not for me. It never was for me. And you? Where were you when we found out about Ethan? Where were you when I needed support? I was here. I was trying to move on with my life because someone had to be strong. Someone had to be rational." "Rational?" Michael stood up. "You call it rational to run away from your own son? Because that's what you do, Jennifer. You run away, you run to work, to the gym, to anywhere that isn't near him." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. And you know what? I think I've figured out why. The lawyer you hired has connections to the clinic that diagnosed Ethan." Jennifer turned pale. "What are you implying?" "I'm implying that maybe the diagnosis was too convenient. A disabled child would give you advantages in the divorce." "Are you crazy? How can you think something like that about me?" "Then explain the coincidence to me. Explain why you insisted on that specific clinic, why you didn't accept me consulting other doctors." "Because that's the best clinic in town, because I wanted the best for our son." "Our son, whom you barely look in the face?" Jennifer stood up, tears starting to fall. "You don't understand anything. You don't know how impossible it is for me to look at him and see everything he'll never have, everything he'll never be." "But what if he can be? What if he can have?" "What are you talking about?" "I'm taking Ethan to another doctor, one who has no connection to you or your clinic, because I have my doubts about this diagnosis." "Michael, don't do this. Don't create false hope. Why are you so afraid of me finding out the truth, Jennifer?" She fell silent, tears flowing freely now. Then she picked up her purse and walked toward the door. "I'm going to sleep at my mother's house. Tomorrow I'll send for some things. I think it's better if we take some time apart." "I think so too." The door closed, and Michael was left alone in the living room. He heard crying coming from Ethan's room. He went upstairs and found the baby awake, restless. He picked him up and walked to the window. "Everything will be okay," he whispered. "Daddy will find out the truth, I promise." Ethan calmed down in his father's arms, his small blue eyes seeming to fix on the stars outside, and Michael wanted to believe with all his strength that those eyes could truly see. The next morning, Michael called Memorial General Hospital. He explained the situation and managed to schedule an appointment for 3 days later with Dr. Sarah Williams, a pediatrician specializing in child development. During those 3 days, the house was strangely quiet. Jennifer didn't return, only sending Margaret to pick up some clothes and personal items. Margaret, in turn, treated Michael with a coldness he had never noticed before. It was as if she was on Jennifer's side in a war he didn't know was happening. Meredith, however, remained constant. She cared for Ethan with dedication, performed simple tests to observe his reactions, and wrote everything down in a small notebook. Look, Mr. Thompson, she showed him the notebook. Today he reacted to 7 out of 10 colorful objects. Yesterday it was 5 out of 10. He's improving, or at least becoming more responsive. Or we're seeing things we want to see. That could be too, sir, but it doesn't hurt to try to understand better, right? Michael agreed. It didn't hurt to try. On the day of the appointment, he woke up early and prepared everything he needed. Previous medical records, diagnoses, Meredith's notes. He dressed Ethan in comfortable clothes and put him in the car seat. "Good luck, sir," Meredith said goodbye at the door. "I'll be here praying that everything goes well." "Thank you, Meredith, for everything." The trip to the hospital was long. Atlanta had heavy traffic that morning. Michael used the time to think about everything that had happened in the last few weeks. His life had been turned upside down, but strangely, he felt more alive than he had in years. When he arrived at the hospital, he was greeted by a friendly nurse who directed him to Dr. Sarah's office. The doctor was a woman about 60 years old, with graying hair tied in a ponytail, colorful glasses, and a warm smile. "Mr. Thompson, nice to meet you," she greeted. "And this must be Ethan. What a beautiful baby." "Doctor, I brought all the previous exams." Michael handed over a folder full of documents. "I'll take a look, but first, let's do our own tests. Every doctor has their methods, and I like to form my own opinion." During the next hour, Dr. Sarah examined Ethan meticulously. She used lights of different intensities, objects of various colors and sizes, tested reflexes, reactions, everything. Michael watched anxiously, trying to interpret every expression on her face. "Interesting," she murmured from time to time, jotting something down. "What's interesting, doctor?" "Let me finish the tests before making any comments, okay?" Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she placed Ethan back in Michael's arms and sat at her desk. "Mr. Thompson, I've read the previous diagnoses. 3 different doctors concluded that Ethan has bilateral blindness due to optic nerve hypoplasia." "Yes, exactly." "Well, my preliminary exams indicate something different." Michael's heart raced. "Different how?" "Ethan is not blind, at least not in the traditional sense. He has a condition called partial achromatopsia with atypical visual processing. Basically, he has difficulty processing certain colors and patterns, but he definitely has vision." Michael felt his legs weaken. He had to sit down. "Are you sure?" "I'll order some additional tests to confirm, but yes, I'm quite confident. Ethan can see. Maybe not with the same clarity as a typical baby his age, but he definitely has functional vision." "But how did the other doctors not notice this?" Dr. Sarah took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "Mr. Thompson, I'll be frank with you. The tests performed on Ethan were too basic. Any one of them, taken alone, could lead to a false diagnosis of blindness. But a careful doctor would have noticed inconsistencies and ordered more specific tests. So they were incompetent, or rushed, or biased. I can't say without knowing the circumstances, but the fact is the diagnosis was wrong." Michael hugged Ethan against his chest, tears finally falling. "My son isn't blind," he repeated. "My son isn't blind. He'll still need follow-up care. His condition could affect his vision development if not properly treated. But with the right stimuli and perhaps some visual therapies, Ethan can lead a completely normal life." "Doctor, I don't know how to thank you." "Thank me by bringing him to his follow-up appointments. And Mr. Thompson, whatever situation led to these wrong diagnoses, I suggest you investigate, because this shouldn't have happened." On the drive back home, Michael drove in a state of shock. Happiness, anger, confusion, all mixed together. His son could see. His son was going to be okay. But someone had lied, or at the very least had been criminally negligent. And he was going to find out who. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. When he got home, Meredith was in the kitchen preparing lunch. She turned when she heard his footsteps, and from the expression on his face, knew immediately. "He can see, can't he?" she asked, her eyes shining. "He can see." "Not perfectly, he has a condition that needs treatment, but he can see, Meredith. My son can see." She dropped the spoon she was holding and hugged Michael, both of them crying with joy, right there in the kitchen. Ethan, in the middle of the hug, let out a happy little squeal as if he also knew the good news. "I knew," Meredith said through tears. "I knew he could see, just like my brother. I knew." "You saved my son, Meredith. Saved my family." "No, Mr. Michael. I just opened your eyes to see what was always there." That night Michael called Jennifer. She answered on the third try. "What do you want?" "I took Ethan to another doctor today. Michael, we've talked about this. I don't want false hope." "It's not false. He can see, Jennifer. Our son can see." Complete silence on the other end of the line. "What did you say?" "Ethan isn't blind. He never was. He has a treatable condition, but he definitely can see. The doctors at your clinic were wrong." That's not possible." "It is possible. It's real. I have the diagnosis right here. And now I want answers, Jennifer. I want to know what really happened." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. That clinic, the rush doctors, the divorce lawyer with connections there, it all fits perfectly. You knew, didn't you? You knew the diagnosis was wrong." "Michael, you're delusional. You're inventing a conspiracy that doesn't exist." "Then come here. Look me in the eyes and tell me you didn't know. Tell me it was all a coincidence. I don't have to justify myself to you." "Yes, you do, because this involves our son. You let me believe for months that Ethan was blind, knowing he wasn't." "I didn't know." "Liar!" Jennifer hung up the phone. Michael stared at the screen, anger boiling inside him. But along with the anger, there was a steely determination. He was going to uncover the whole truth, and he was going to make someone pay for it. The next day, Michael went to the Life and Wellness Clinic unannounced. He asked to speak with the director, Dr. William Peterson. He was told he needed to make an appointment, but he insisted it was urgent. "Tell Dr. William that it's about an incorrect diagnosis that could result in a very expensive lawsuit for the clinic," he said to the receptionist. 10 minutes later, he was being led to the director's luxurious office. Doctor. William was a man in his early 50s, too tanned, teeth too white, suit too expensive. Everything about him screamed vanity and arrogance. "Mr. Thompson, what a surprise. How can I help you? Can you explain to me how 3 different doctors at your clinic diagnosed my son as blind when he isn't?" Dr. Williams' expression didn't change, but Michael noticed a brief flash of something in his eyes. Fear. Guilt. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you're talking about. Your son was examined by the best specialists we have, and they all got it wrong, all of them. How is that possible?" "Medicine isn't an exact science, Mr. Thompson. Sometimes diagnostic errors happen." 3 identical errors by 3 different doctors? That's not a mistake, it's negligence or something worse. "Mr. Thompson, I suggest you be careful with your accusations. Our clinic has an impeccable reputation." "Your clinic has ties to Kenneth Wheeler, my wife's divorce lawyer. That's no coincidence." "Doctor," William stood up. "This conversation is over. If you want to make formal accusations, get a lawyer. Now please leave." "You can be sure I'll get a lawyer, and I'll sue you, your clinic, and all the doctors involved." "Do as you wish. We have the best lawyers in the state." Michael left the clinic even angrier, but also more determined. He called David, his lawyer. "David, I want to sue the Life and Wellness Clinic and all the doctors who diagnosed my son." "Michael, calm down. Let's think this through carefully. A lawsuit against a clinic of this size can be very complicated." "I don't care. They lied about my son's health. I need to do something." "I understand your outrage, but you need concrete evidence. You need to prove there was intentional negligence, not just a medical error." "And how do I do that?" "Leave it to me. I'll start a discreet investigation. If there's something wrong, we'll find it." In the days that followed, Michael immersed himself in a routine of caring for Ethan. Dr. Sarah had prescribed some simple visual exercises and therapies that could be done at home. Meredith helped with dedication, turning the sessions into fun playtimes. "Look at the airplane, Ethan. Vroom, vroom." She moved a toy airplane from side to side, and the baby's eyes eagerly followed the movement. Michael watched and felt his heart warm. His son was responding. He was improving every day. Margaret, however, remained distant and cold. Michael noticed that she often talked quietly on the phone, always moving away when he approached. It was clear which side she was on. One afternoon, Michael returned from a work meeting and found Margaret and Jennifer in the living room, talking. They fell silent as soon as they saw him. "Jennifer, I didn't know you were coming today. I came to pick up a few more things, and to see Ethan. Now you want to see Ethan after being gone for weeks? He's my son too, Michael. Funny. You didn't seem to remember that when you ran away from here." Margaret stood up. "I'll let you two talk." She left, but Michael was sure she was listening behind the door. "Michael, can we talk civilly?" Jennifer asked. "You can start by telling me the truth. Did you know the diagnosis was wrong?" "I didn't know. How could I?" "Your doctors, Jennifer. Your doctors connected to your lawyer. What an incredible coincidence. You're being paranoid. You're seeing a conspiracy where there's just an unfortunate medical error. A convenient error. A disabled child would give you advantages in the divorce. More money, more rights." Jennifer clenched her fists. "Do you really believe I'm capable of that? That I'd use my own son's health to make money? I don't know what to believe anymore. You've become a stranger to me. And you think you're any different? You've changed, Michael. Ever since Ethan was born, you've only had eyes for him. You've become obsessed. It's sick. What's sick is a mother who abandons her child." "I didn't abandon him. I just—" She stopped, her voice breaking. "I just couldn't handle it. Every time I looked at him, I thought about everything he'd never have. It was too painful. But now he'll have everything. He'll grow up normal, see the world, have a full life. And you think that changes anything between us? You think we'll go back to being a happy family? No, I think we've gone too far to go back. But Ethan deserves to have both parents present in his life. Parents who don't lie, who don't manipulate, who don't use him as a weapon." Jennifer picked up her purse. "My lawyer will contact yours. Let's settle this civilly for Ethan's sake." "For Ethan's sake, I hope so." After she left, Michael went upstairs to see his son. Ethan was sleeping peacefully in his crib, his tiny fists clenched, his breathing soft. He was perfect, and he was going to be okay. "Daddy won't let anyone hurt you," Michael whispered. "Never again." A week later, David called with news. "Michael, I found out something interesting. I spoke with some people who work at the clinic. A nurse, retired now, said there were rumors that the clinic gave biased diagnoses for specific clients." "Biased how?" "They exaggerated conditions or even created non-existent conditions when it served the interests of those who paid well. Apparently it's a practice that's been going on for years." "My God. And does she have proof of this?" "Not concrete proof we could use in court, but she knows other people who were victims. I'm trying to convince them to testify. Keep investigating. I need to bring down this clinic." "Michael, be careful. People like that don't play fair. If they feel threatened, they might retaliate. I don't care. They've already taken months of my son's life. They won't take anything else, but David was right. People didn't play fair." 2 days later, Michael had an unexpected visitor at his company. Kenneth Wheeler, Jennifer's lawyer, showed up unannounced. "Mr. Thompson, can we talk?" "I have nothing to say to you." "I think you do, about the investigations you're conducting at the Life and Wellness Clinic." "How do you know about that?" "I know a lot of things, and I came to give you some advice. Stop. Stop before you regret it." "Is that a threat?" "It's friendly advice. The clinic has resources, influence, connections. You might even win a lawsuit, but you'll lose much more along the way. Your company could suffer. Your reputation could be tarnished. Is all this worth it?" "Yes. If it's to get justice for my son, anything is worth it." Kenneth smiled, but it was a cold smile. "You're an idealist. That's admirable, but reckless. Think carefully, Mr. Thompson. Your wife is willing to negotiate a friendly divorce, with generous terms for both parties. But if you continue this crusade, things could get very unpleasant. You can tell Jennifer that I don't accept blackmail." "It's not blackmail. It's reality." "Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson. I hope you make the right decision." After he left, Michael stood looking out his office window. The city stretched out below, millions of people living their lives, unaware of his dramas. He had a choice to make. He could accept a quiet divorce, pretend nothing had happened, move on. Or he could fight, even knowing the path would be difficult. He looked at the photo of Ethan he kept on his desk. The answer was obvious. He called David. "Continue the investigation. No matter what they do, I'm going all the way." "Are you sure, Michael?" "Absolute." In the following weeks, the situation escalated. Michael began receiving strange calls in the middle of the night. Nothing was said, just silence on the other end. His car was scratched in the company parking lot. Small intimidations that made it clear he was stirring up a hornet's nest, but he didn't back down. And gradually, David was building a case. More victims of the clinic appeared, people who had received questionable diagnoses that conveniently served some financial interest. A man diagnosed with a serious illness that secured early retirement with a full pension when in fact he was perfectly healthy. A woman who had her son diagnosed with severe autism to increase child support when the child only had a mild developmental delay. Each story confirmed the pattern. The Life and Wellness Clinic wasn't just incompetent, it was corrupt. "We have enough cases to file a class action," David announced in a meeting. "This will attract media attention, regulatory authorities, everyone. Then let's move forward." "Michael, I need to warn you. Jennifer will get burned too. Even if she didn't know about the scheme, the fact that she used the clinic to get a favorable diagnosis will harm her. She made her choice. Now she lives with the consequences." The lawsuit was filed on a Monday morning. By the afternoon, the news was in all the local papers. Billionaire businessman sues elite clinic for fraudulent diagnosis. Social media exploded with divided opinions. Michael's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Journalists wanting interviews, acquaintances wanting to know the full story, even strangers offering support or condemnation. Jennifer called that night furious. "You destroyed me, Michael. Do you know that? My reputation is ruined. I didn't do anything. I just exposed the truth. The truth? You created a narrative. You're making it seem like I conspired against my own son. You tell me, did you conspire?" Silence. I didn't know they would do that. I swear. "But you knew something, didn't you?" More silence. Then her voice low and broken. "Kenneth told me that if Ethan had some special condition, I'd have a better chance of getting custody. It would guarantee a better alimony. I didn't ask them to falsify anything. Just mention to the doctors that it would be important to have absolute certainty of any condition, and they understood." Michael felt his heart tighten. Even expecting that confession, hearing it actually hurt. "So you knew. You knew they were exaggerating at the very least." "I wasn't sure. I thought it was just medical precaution." "Lie. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you chose money over your son." "It's not that simple, Michael. You don't understand the pressure I was under. Your family always treated me as inferior. They always made it clear that I was only there for your money. I needed to secure my future. And didn't it matter that for that, you had to make our son go through months of unnecessary treatments? To be treated as disabled when he wasn't? I'm sorry, I really am sorry, but I can't turn back time." "No, you can't. But you can do the right thing now. You can testify against the clinic. You can help bring down this scheme." "Are you crazy? I'd be arrested." "Maybe. Or maybe if you cooperate, you'll get a lighter sentence. A deal. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But I know it's the right thing to do. I need to think. Think fast. Because if you don't do the right thing, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did." He hung up, his hands shaking. He had just threatened his son's mother. But he didn't regret it. Some things were bigger than family, than marriage, than any loyalty. The truth was one of them. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. 3 days later, Jennifer showed up at Michael's house. She looked different. Without makeup, simple hair, plain clothes. She seemed smaller, more fragile. "May I come in?" Michael opened the door and she stepped through. She went straight to Ethan's room, who was awake in his crib, playing with a colourful mobile. Jennifer stood still in the doorway, just watching. "He's so big," she whispered. "He's grown so much since I last saw him. It's been almost a month. I know I've been a terrible mother. It's not too late to change." Jennifer approached the crib and reached out her hand. Ethan grabbed her finger and she began to cry. "He forgives me. So small, and he already forgives. Babies don't hold grudges, but that doesn't erase what you did. I know, and I'm going to fix it. I'll testify against the clinic. I'll tell everything I know." Michael felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Thank you. That means a lot." "I'm going to lose everything," she said, still looking at Ethan. "My job, my reputation, maybe even my freedom, even my—" But looking at him now, I realize I'd already lost the only thing that really mattered. I lost my son to greed and fear. "You haven't lost him, Jennifer. Ethan still needs his mother, but he needs a real mother, one who fights for him, not against him. May I hold him?" "Of course." Jennifer picked up Ethan for the first time in weeks. The baby looked at her with those deep blue eyes that Michael now knew saw everything, and he smiled. "He smiled at me," Jennifer sobbed. "After all I've done, he smiled. He loves you, because babies love unconditionally, without judgment. Maybe we can learn from them." Jennifer stayed for a few hours, playing with Ethan, talking with Michael about the next steps. She would tell everything to his lawyer, sign the necessary documents, do whatever it took to expose the clinic scheme. "And us?" she asked before leaving. "What will happen to our marriage?" "I don't know, Jennifer. Honestly, I don't know if it can be fixed. You broke my trust in a way I'm not sure I can recover from. I understand and I accept it. I just want a chance to be Ethan's mother, even if I can't be your wife. Let's take it slow, one day at a time." In the months that followed, the lawsuit against the Life and Wellness Clinic took on unexpected proportions. With the testimony of Jennifer and other victims, it was proven that the clinic indeed manipulated diagnoses to favor specific clients in exchange for extra payments or political favors. Dr. William Peterson and 3 other doctors were indicted. The clinic lost its operating license, and dozens of families who had been deceived began seeking compensation. For Michael, however, what mattered most was happening at home. Ethan, now 9 months old, was progressing rapidly in his visual therapies. Dr. Sarah was impressed with his development. "He's going far beyond what we expected," she said during a checkup. "With a few more months of therapy, his vision will be completely normal for his age." And Meredith was still there, a constant and caring presence. Michael had significantly increased her salary and offered to pay for a teaching degree if she wanted. She accepted with tears in her eyes. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did. You saved my son, Meredith. I can never repay you enough. I just did what any decent person would do." "Exactly. And in this world full of people doing the wrong thing, decent people are rare. Precious." Jennifer began visiting Ethan regularly. At first they were short, supervised visits, but gradually, as she showed genuine change, Michael allowed more time. She entered therapy, started working in another field away from the spotlight, tried to rebuild her life. "I don't deserve your generosity," she told Michael during one of his visits. "Probably not, but Ethan deserves to have a mother, and I won't deprive him of that because of my feelings. You're a better man than I deserved. I'm just trying to do what's right, for our son." The divorce was finalized on reasonably friendly terms, all things considered. Michael got primary custody, but Jennifer had regular visitation rights. The property division was fair, without the attempts at manipulation that could have happened, and at home, life found a new rhythm. Michael drastically cut back his work hours, delegated more responsibilities, learned to prioritize. He spent mornings with Ethan, doing therapies, playing, just being present. Meredith studied at night and worked during the day, but she was no longer just an employee. She was part of the family. They ate together, talked, laughed. The house that was once cold and silent now had life. Margaret resigned shortly after the scandal broke. Apparently she was aware of the scheme, and received extra payments to report information about the family to Jennifer and her lawyer. Michael didn't press charges, just let her go. There were already enough fights in his life. On a sunny afternoon, about a year after the whole saga began, Michael was in the garden with Ethan. The boy, now a year and a half old, toddled across the lawn, exploring the world with curious eyes that saw every detail. "Look, Ethan, a butterfly." Ethan turned toward where his father pointed and laughed when he saw the orange butterfly perched on a flower. He reached out his little hand, trying to touch it. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Meredith came out of the house with a tray of juices. "The afternoon is so lovely. It's hard to believe everything we've been through." "Sometimes I can't believe it either," Michael agreed. "It feels like a nightmare that's finally over." "Not a nightmare, a journey. Difficult, painful, but necessary. You're a better person now. Ethan has a better father. And he has you, who's practically a second mother to him." Meredith smiled. "He stole my heart from day one, that little baby everyone said was blind, but whose eyes I knew could see. They saw more than anyone imagined." The gate opened and Jennifer came in. She visited once a week now, always on the same day and time. Consistency was important for Ethan. "Hi, my love." She waved to her son, who ran toward her with unsteady steps. "Mommy." It was the first time Ethan had called her Mommy clearly. Jennifer picked up her son and cried, as she always did when he showed affection toward her. "I love you so much," she whispered. "So much. I'm sorry for everything." Michael watched from a distance. It was strange having Jennifer there. It still hurt sometimes, remembering what she had done. But he had learned that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about choosing not to let the past poison the future. "How were the sessions?" Jennifer asked, sitting on the lawn with Ethan. "Very well. Dr. Sarah said he's above average now. His vision is perfect." "Thank God," Jennifer looked at Meredith. "And thank you, Meredith, for not giving up when all of us did." "I could never give up on him," Meredith replied simply. They spent the afternoon together, the four of them, a strange and imperfect family, formed by lies, mistakes, and redemption, but still a family. When Jennifer left after dinner, Michael helped Meredith clean up the kitchen while Ethan watched cartoons in the living room. "Mr. Michael, may I ask a personal question?" "Of course, Meredith. Do you still love Jennifer?" Michael thought for a long moment. "Not in the way I did before. That Jennifer, the one I thought I knew, might never have existed. But I still feel something for her. Compassion, perhaps. Hope that she becomes the person she was meant to be." "And you? Are you happy?" "I am. For the first time in a long while, I'm truly happy. I have my healthy son, a house full of life, work that satisfies me without consuming me, and I have you, who is a blessing I never expected to have." Meredith wiped away a tear. "Sometimes I still can't believe it all worked out. When I arrived here on my first day, I saw that baby and my heart tightened. I remembered my brother, all the suffering my mother went through until she discovered the truth. And I thought, I won't let it happen again. I won't stay silent." "You're brave. You could have lost your job. You could have been sued for defamation. But you risked everything to do what was right." "It wasn't courage, sir. It was love. Love for a child I had just met, but who somehow entered my heart as if he were mine." "He is yours, Meredith. Maybe not biologically, but in every way that matters. You're as much his mother as I am his father." That night, after Meredith went to study and Ethan was sleeping peacefully, Michael sat in the living room with a glass of wine. He looked around at the house that had transformed so much in a year. Before, it was a cold museum, where every object had its specific place and nothing could be touched. Now it was a home, with toys scattered, drawings pinned on the refrigerator, laughter echoing through the walls. His phone rang. It was his mother, Mrs. Patricia. She lived out in the country and rarely called. "Hi, Mum." "Michael, my son, how are things?" "Good, Mum. Ethan is growing fast. His vision is perfect now." "What a blessing. I always knew there was hope. I always prayed for you." "Thank you, Mum. And how are you?" "I'm fine." But I didn't call to talk about myself. I called because I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Michael sat up straighter. There was something in her voice. "What is it, Mom?" "It's about you. It's about... When you were born, the doctors said you had vision problems. They said you might never see properly." "What?" "Your father and I consulted several specialists. They all confirmed it, but I didn't accept it. You reacted to stimuli, followed objects with your eyes. So I took you to a public hospital far away, and there they discovered you had a rare visual processing condition, just like Ethan." Michael was in shock. "Why did you never tell me this?" "Because you grew up normal, without any problems. I thought there was no point in bringing it up. But when I found out about Ethan, I thought it might be genetic. And I wanted to tell you, but you were so devastated, I didn't have the courage to add more worry." "Mom, this explains everything. That's why Dr. Sarah asked to investigate the family history. That's why Ethan has the same condition. It's likely, and if it's any comfort, you developed perfectly. You had a normal life without any lasting effects. Ethan will too." "I know, Mom, I know he'll be fine. He already is." "You're a wonderful father, Michael. Better than I was a mother." "Don't say that. You were great. You didn't give up when the doctors said I had a problem. Exactly like Meredith didn't give up on Ethan." "Meredith is the housekeeper who discovered the truth. She's more than a housekeeper, Mom. She's family." They talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Michael sat in the dark, processing the revelation. He had gone through the same thing as Ethan. His mother had fought for him just as Meredith had fought for his son. It was as if history was repeating itself, giving him a second chance to make things right. He went upstairs to watch Ethan sleeping. The boy was on his side, the blue teddy bear hugged to his chest. So small, so innocent, unaware of all the drama that had happened because of him. "You're going to have an amazing life," Michael whispered. "He will see everything the world has to offer. He will grow up strong, smart, kind. And he will always know that he is loved. Unconditionally loved." Ethan stirred in his sleep, a small smile crossing his face. And Michael knew, deep in his soul, that everything had been worth it. Every tear, every fear, every moment of despair. Because it had led to this moment, his son healthy, happy, with a bright future ahead. The months kept passing. Ethan turned 2 with a simple party in their backyard. Jennifer helped organize it, and for the first time since the divorce they managed to work together without tension. She had genuinely changed, acknowledged her faults, worked on herself. They would never be husband and wife again, but they were learning to be good parents together. The Life and Wellness Clinic declared bankruptcy after losing all the lawsuits. Dr. William and 2 other doctors were sentenced to prison time. Some doctors who were merely negligent, not criminal, lost their licenses and could never practice medicine again. And Michael started a project that became his passion, a foundation to ensure accurate and affordable diagnoses for children from poor families. The name: Ethan Thompson, Children's Health Foundation. "It's perfect," Meredith said when he showed her the sign that would be installed at the building's entrance. "Ethan will be proud of this when he grows up." "I hope so. I hope he grows up knowing that even from bad things, good things can be born." The foundation offered free exams, second opinions, follow-up care for children diagnosed with serious conditions, and Meredith, who had finished her teaching degree, was hired as coordinator of a special program for children with atypical visual development. "I have a confession to make," she told Michael on her first official day at the foundation. "What confession?" "When I started working at your house, I was desperate. I needed money for my children's education. But when I saw Ethan, when I realized he wasn't blind, I thought about staying quiet. I thought if I got involved, I'd lose my job. And then I remembered my mother. I remembered how she fought alone, how many doors were slammed in her face, how she was humiliated by arrogant doctors, and I decided I couldn't do that to another baby. I couldn't let Ethan go through what my brother went through just to keep a job. And risk everything. I risked it. But it was worth it. Because look where we are now. Look at how many children we'll be able to help." On the day of the foundation's inauguration, over 200 people attended. Families who had been victims of misdiagnoses, doctors committed to doing good, journalists, officials. And there in the front, sitting side by side, were Michael, Jennifer, and Meredith, each holding one of Ethan's hands. When it was time for Michael to give his speech, he picked Ethan up and walked to the microphone. "This is Ethan," he began. "2 years ago, several doctors told me he was blind. They said he would never see, and I believed them. I believed them because they were respected professionals, because they had diplomas on their walls, because they charged a lot and therefore must be good. But a humble woman, a housekeeper with a high school education, saw what they didn't see, or rather saw what they chose not to see. And she had the courage to speak up, the courage to risk her job, her reputation, everything to defend a child she barely knew. Today, Ethan sees perfectly. He's healthy, happy, developing wonderfully. And all of this because someone decided to put a child's well-being above her own comfort. This foundation exists so that no child has to depend on the luck of having someone like Meredith in their life. It exists to ensure that every diagnosis is made with seriousness, competence, and above all, with love. Because medicine without love is just bureaucracy, and our children deserve more than bureaucracy. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Meredith was discreetly crying, trying to hide behind her sunglasses. Jennifer held her hand and squeezed it, a silent gesture of gratitude and respect. After the ceremony, as people mingled admiring the facilities, an elderly woman approached Michael. She must have been about 70 years old, with completely white hair but lively eyes. "Mr. Thompson, my name is Eleanor. I'm the mother of the nurse who testified against the clinic." "Ah, yes, Mrs. Mary, she was very brave." "She was, and she paid dearly for it. She lost her pension, was threatened, spent months in depression. But today, seeing this, she told me it was worth it. That she can finally sleep in peace, knowing she did the right thing. Please tell her I'm eternally grateful." "I will. And Mr. Thompson, I have a granddaughter, 5 years old. The doctors said she has a severe developmental delay, that she might never speak properly. But I look at this girl and something tells me it's wrong. She's smart, understands everything, just doesn't speak. Could it be—" "Bring her here," Michael interrupted. "On Monday, our specialists will examine her, at no cost, and we'll find the truth, whatever it may be." Mrs. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you, my son. God bless you and your family." That was the first of hundreds of stories that the Ethan Thompson Children's Health Foundation would help rewrite in the years to come. Children misdiagnosed with severe autism when they actually had only mild hearing loss. Children labeled as retarded when they were actually gifted and bored. Children medicated for conditions they didn't have. And in each case, a relieved family, a saved child, a rebuilt future. Ethan grew up hearing these stories. On his 5th birthday, Michael finally told him the whole truth about what happened when he was a baby. "Daddy, was I blind?" Ethan asked, confused. "The doctors thought so, but it wasn't true." And Meredith found out. "She did. She saved you, son, saved our family." Ethan thought for a moment, then ran to Meredith, who was preparing the birthday cake in the kitchen. He hugged her legs tightly. "Thank you for saving me, Meredith." She dropped what she was doing and knelt to be at his level. "It wasn't me who saved you, Ethan. You're the one who saved all of us. You showed me that it's worth fighting for what's right. You showed your father what really matters in life. And you showed your mother that love is more important than money." "So I'm a superhero then?" "Yes," Meredith laughed. "The greatest superhero of all." That evening, during the birthday party, Michael looked at his life with a perspective that only time and suffering can bring. He watched Ethan playing with his little friends, running through the garden lit by colorful lights. He watched Meredith chatting animatedly with Mrs. Patricia, the two exchanging recipes and stories. He watched Jennifer helping one of the children who had fallen, carefully cleaning the scraped knee. And finally, he looked at the framed photo on the wall. A photo of Ethan at 3 months old, still during the period when everyone thought he was blind. In that photo, the baby's blue eyes seemed to look directly at the camera, seeing everything, having always seen everything. "What are you thinking about?" Meredith approached him. "I was thinking about how strange life is. How sometimes the worst moment can lead to the best destiny. It's true. If Ethan hadn't been misdiagnosed, you wouldn't have created the foundation. Hundreds of children wouldn't have received help. And I'd probably be in another job far from this amazing family. And I'd still be married to Jennifer, unhappy, not understanding what really matters. Everything happens for a reason. Or maybe we're the ones who give meaning to what happens. We choose what to do with pain, with mistakes, with lies. We can let them destroy us, or we can build something better from the broken pieces." Meredith smiled. "When did you get so wise, Mr. Michael?" "I learned from a very wise housekeeper who had courage when I didn't." "Don't be silly." She gave his arm a light slap, but was blushing. Ethan ran up to them, his face smeared with cake, his eyes shining with happiness. "Daddy! Meredith! Come see. Mom taught us a new game." He pulled them both by the hand, dragging them to the middle of the garden where Jennifer was lining up the children. And as they played under the stars on that perfect summer night, Michael knew he had everything he'd ever wanted. Not in the way he'd imagined, not with the people he'd expected, but in an honest, real way built on truth and love. That boy who was almost labeled blind, who almost had his future stolen by greed and neglect, was there, seeing everything with a clarity that went beyond physical sight, seeing the love that surrounded him, the second chance they'd all been given, the beauty of an imperfect but genuine family. And in the end, thought Michael, that was what truly mattered. Not the money, not the status, not the appearances, but those simple moments of genuine happiness, a child's laughter, a friend's loyalty, the redemption of those who made mistakes, the courage to do what's right even when it's hard. Ethan, the baby who supposedly would never see, had taught them all how to truly see. End of story. And you, what did you think of this story? Have you ever been in a situation where you needed to trust your intuition against expert opinions? Leave your comment sharing your experience. And if you believe Meredith did the right thing, leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories like this one.